The 2020 presidential elections will not be normal elections. In fact, they will be like none other in recent times. They will be a focal point in the struggle over whether the US is going to become a fascist country. And what people do in this complex situation will matter greatly.
There is a tradition in this country, in fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner, not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris.
Can you give a direct answer? You will accept the election?
I have to see. Look, I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no. And I didn't last time either.
Since June of this year, groups of politicians, academics, and military officials have been quietly meeting to run simulations and game out scenarios. What if President Trump refuses to concede a loss, as he publicly hinted he might do? How far could he go to preserve his power? Diverse voices in the US are expressing concern that the Trump-Pence regime has no intention of leaving office, regardless of the results of the election. And these fears are justified. Not only has Trump repeatedly tweeted in opposition to the whole idea of using mail-in ballots, he has also floated the idea of postponing the elections altogether. Trump and the Republicans are doing everything they can to cheat and steal the election, suppressing voters who are likely to vote against Trump, and at the same time delegitimizing the election beforehand, claiming in advance that the process is rigged. Then, if they lose, they can try to hold onto power while contesting or denying the results. In the name of preventing voter fraud, states are passing laws that restrict what does and doesn't qualify as proper identification for voting. Texas passed a law that specified that a gun license could be used as voter ID, but a state university ID could not. On its face, it seems neutral and pointless, but once you find out that 80% of gun licenses are issued to white people, while 50% of state university students are people of color, the point of voter ID laws like this become clear. In May of 2020, the New York Times reported that the Republican Party had launched a $20 million campaign to recruit up to 50,000 poll watchers to challenge ballots and voters deemed suspicious. If you look at what these fascists are actually saying and doing, it becomes clear that what they mean by suspicious is people of color, and what they mean by monitor is intimidate. Listen to this audio of voter suppression activists at a February strategy session that included the organization True the Vote, a group that lobbies for tougher restrictions on voting.
Do you want to go into an inner city precinct or a tribal precinct and be the Republican there to oversee things? I mean, that is not a comfortable place to be, and that's where this fraud happens.
You want to talk about people who understand and respect law and order and chain of command. You get some SEALs in those polls, and they're going to say, no, this is what it says, and this is how we're going to play this show, and that's what we need.
After the conference, True the Vote launched its Continue to Serve website, specifically to sign up ex-cops and ex-military. Think about that. Ex-cops and ex-military. Ex-cops and ex-military. In the wake of the police murdering George Floyd and racist vigilantes murdering Ahmaud Arbery, imagine the impact on Latinos, whether immigrants or not, of poll watchers demanding, "Show me your papers." This Republi-fascist push for poll watchers is aimed at nothing less than scaring black and brown people away from polling places. At the same time, fascist forces led by Trump are launching an all-out assault on the legitimacy and integrity of this election if they are not successful in these efforts to engineer an electoral win. The way they are doing this is by claiming in advance that the election is rigged. Trump has led the charge on this by attacking mail-in or absentee voting, which is going to be much more common this year due to the pandemic. Various researchers have put forward that mail-in voting is a virtually fraud-proof method, already widely used throughout the US, especially by seniors, rural people, and those in the military, constituencies that usually lean Republican. But now that this will be increasingly needed and used by Black, Latino, and Native people, it's become a target for the fascists. On May 24th, Trump tweeted, "The United States cannot have all mail-in ballots. It will be the greatest rigged election in history." 4 days later, it was, "Mail-in voting will lead to massive fraud and abuse. It will also lead to the end of our great Republican Party." Through cutting funding and hours for the Postal Service, the Trump-Pence regime is hobbling the ability of the Postal Service to function ahead of an election where its services are vital. He is working to create a self-fulfilling prophecy meant to sow doubt and confusion around the results. Looking forward to Election Day, given what Trump has already said and done, consider how things could play out if Trump loses the election. His supporters, including the armed ones, the tough people, and the bikers for Trump, could be mobilized and pour into the streets to defend him, perhaps backed or even led by the rapid deployment forces he has created. As Bob Avakian recently emphasized,
Trump is not only seeking to suppress the votes of people who will vote against him, but is also preparing to utilize forceful, violent repression to remain in office if he is not declared the winner in the election.
This, together with the likely confusion created by the pandemic and a massive increase in mail-in voting, could provide the basis for the regime to dig in. All of this is very dangerous and needs to be opposed as part of the movement to drive out this regime now.
Trump-Pence!